Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dirty Laundry podcast. My name is Trevor. I'm going to be your host, and today I am joined by my old roommate and Ian's sister, Nicole Stower.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good.
Good. Things are going well. Things are rainy outside today. It's kind of muggy and weird, and it was with that I was able to get out of doing my run in my own head. I had the plans beforehand to go outside and be active, but then
Just talk about it.
I just didn't I didn't feel up to it. Do you ever get like that? Do you ever get where just a little thing in an environment will change everything for you and your motivation?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I totally get that.
You resonate with that.
I relate.
So Nicole and I know each other similarly to Ian. We met in elementary school and pretty much had a similar track all the way through high school with a few little deviations here and there. We carpooled freshman year in high school, all of us, the three of us, on our way to our high school. And that's really that. So the reason I have her on today is to go over something that is a passion in my life. It's been around pretty much the entirety of my life. And with my weight fluctuations and everything else, it's taken kind of a new meaning. So I just wanted to talk about nutrition, fitness. She has her degree in kinesiology. That's correct?
Yep.
Good. So, just wanted to have a little bit of a different conversation than usual, kind of test it out, be a little bit of a Walmart Joe Rogan. We are also joined by the animals of the club here. Noodle and Abby are joining us on the couch today. So just to get, wow, she does not like that.
She doesn't like to be pet.
She's not interested.
No.
But yeah, to get right into it, I guess I want to kind of talk about our baselines and our routines daily. So, as most people know, I've been on a ketogenic diet for almost a year now. It'll be a year in July. That has been my nutrition, high fat, low carbohydrates, kind of mid-range on the protein. I've gotten a little bit more protein lately just because I'm trying to utilize it for exercise and in the gym, but still really high on the fat intake. Is there anything specific that you're doing currently with your own?
Currently, well, you actually got me interested in a more ketogenic diet for sure.
Sure.
I don't eat gluten. That is something I'm very sensitive to.
Okay.
So I do a more high fat diet. And I do high protein, but I still eat fruit sometimes, but it's not like a primary source of calories.
Sure.
And then I just really try to stay away from breads. I mean,
it's always
gluten
good.
is just the worst in my opinion. And I actually get like pretty sick from it, but I'm really happy when I have, a good amount of protein in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm super active.
Sure.
So I need like protein for constant muscle rebuild. And then the fat is satiating. So it helps me with my appetite and control of that. You
feel fuller longer, that whole trope.
Yeah. And then, things happen where you kind of like get a little bit stressed out and your body like wants to crave like sugars and things like that.
Is there a direct link to those things to stress and other stressors in your life leading to?
Yeah, for sure. I can tell just like from experience now that I've been in school for a while is that when I'm in stress mode, my cognitive function has to be higher and I'm sleeping less. So my body craves the glucose more.
Sure.
So that my brain can because I'm not keto, so I'm not functioning on ketones.
Right.
So my body's like, oh, I need glucose, I need rice, I need sugar. And then as a natural, like a quick fix would be like a candy bar or like, bad things in my opinion.
It's funny that it almost seems natural in that way too, because when those stressors happen in our lives, it seems to be the natural suit to want fast food or
Mhm.
again want a candy bar. It's not even sugar in like fruits doesn't seem to do it. It seems
No,
to
it
be
would be
like
that would probably be a better turn to for me.
I wonder
But
if like it would satiate that need, having an orange or an apple or something. That's the one thing I do really miss during the
you're like,
ketogenic diet is having like that other natural thing. I like having like the carciferous vegetables that I'm having, but I do miss basic fruits because I can't have them. Like strawberries, fuck. I mean, I love those damn things.
berries in general are
Yeah.
amazing.
Um so as far as physical routine, would you say that you have a current routine or it kind of just changes day to day based on what you need, what you want out of it?
Well, I have training goals. So that's kind of where my fitness has evolved to. And with the goals, I program around my goal.
Mhm.
So right now, my goal is to get it's. I mean, people might laugh at these because they might sound easy,
Sure.
but for me, it's to get under 10-minute mile.
Okay.
So I do try to run at least 150 minutes a week. And I split that up into 30-minute slots.
Yeah.
And then I do practice yoga regularly, and I do like a high intensity strength training program once a week. And that's pretty much it.
You were probably like when we did the 5K a few months ago, I'd say you were under 10-minute mile, but you just mean a
No.
designated 1 mile?
No, because I want to sustain the 10 minutes. So
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get 3 back-to-back under 10 minutes.
Oh, 3 mile. Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing I've never dived too deep in. Like I know what my time is for the entirety of my run, but it could be where the first mile is like markedly better than the rest of them. I don't know.
It's usually the opposite way. So your first mile is usually the longest.
Oh.
And then as your body gets used to it, you run faster. At least when I look at my training patterns, my
makes sense.
second and third mile are much faster than my first.
I should probably do that. I should probably do stop times during my runs. That might be helpful.
I highly suggest Strava. The Strava app is the best.
So like something where you like click on your phone and you get a split time,
Yeah, you get
on
split
a lap,
times.
whatever your lap is. Because I do mine. My run around here is, basically 3 or 4 square blocks,
Mhm.
which translates to like a mile and 10 or something like that.
Yeah. You gotta get split time because then you'll see the differences in your times. But I do a 3-minute or a 3-mile run
Mhm.
because that's like my 5K goal is to be under 30 minutes, and I use Strava to track my progress.
Strava. I guess
Mhm.
we're sponsored by that that app on this podcast. Strava. Get your split times.
It was really good. I promise.
Yeah, no, I'm
My
definitely gonna
favorite
use that.
app.
I've used, I guess if as far as apps, Samsung, like just on their phones in general, have like a really good one that's good to keep track of your macros, your micros, your heart rate. Wow, just already ruining my day, Noodle. Thank you so much. What are you even barking at? There's nothing there. Nothing even knocked. Noodle, you need to stop. You need to absolutely stop. This is unacceptable, dog. Noodle, come here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so as far as exercise, you have your goals, which are always important. I guess my goals are always about metrics like distance. Like they're never about time, which I might be kind of doing a disservice to myself now that I think about it.
No, distance is good too.
Because I want to be able to run a half marathon, a marathon, those longer ones. I'm up to like 7, 8, and I've done 10 miles before, but I've still never done the actual half marathon, which is
13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. I know you have a similar goal. You want to do that.
I want to do. I want to eventually do the LA marathon.
The LA marathon.
But I have to do a 10K and a half marathon first.
So you can qualify for the LA marathon after doing less than a marathon. I always thought LA marathon, Boston marathon, all of those, you need to qualify with a marathon previously, but I guess not. No.
You qualify for I think you have to do a full marathon. No, I don't know. I'm not too familiar.
I know Boston, I think you need to do well in another marathon, and maybe the LA Marathon is one of those that you can do from, qualify from something under that.
Yeah.
Because you always have to have your first marathon. You can't just start off
with a marathon.
at the marathon.
And the LA is more chill.
Yeah. There's probably less terrain differences when you're just going through city blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder. I've never even looked at the track for the Los Angeles Marathon. I wonder, is it just downtown? Is it
you like
in
run
the
through
valley?
Santa Monica?
Wow.
Yeah, you get to Santa Monica, I think.
Oh, is it along the boardwalk too? Is it?
No, I think you run through. You start in like downtown and then you end up in Santa Monica. But I could be totally wrong.
Sure. Yeah, spreading misinformation here on the Dirty Laundry podcast. So I know that you've had a few different kinds of diets in your life.
Oh yeah.
And so obviously, first of all, you were talking about gluten intolerance. When did you figure that out? I guess when the trend started becoming.
No, I've had so many different diets. And I hate even that word. I actually started
lifestyle change.
Yeah, lifestyle changes. I had a Tumblr and I started getting into diets because I had a lot of followers and I used it as like a challenge to try a bunch of different diets.
Sure.
And I would just report on what happened to my body and things like that. And my followers really liked it because like I was like a guinea pig. But the thing is, I was vegetarian for a very long time. And
right.
Basically I wasn't eating like a good vegetarian. I was eating like those like Daiya products, all those like frozen food types of pre-made meats. And I truly believe that when you're overloading your body with any kind of product, whether it be milk or bread, your body starts to get intolerant to it. And this happened to my brother at a very young age when he was drinking a lot of milk, and then he became lactose intolerant until he stopped drinking the milk, and then his body developed towards being able to have lactose again. So with my vegetarian diet, I was focused primarily on eating breads and wheats and grains, and that was majority of my diet, like the pyramid,
Sure. Yeah, balanced.
It was mostly gluten.
Okay.
And then I was really feeling really sick. My skin was just like on another level of like acne. I've never had such bad cystic acne before. And I just knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I thought like maybe it could have been like a certain nut or bean because I really didn't want it to be the gluten because I love bread.
Everybody loves bread.
And I love cheese. And I was like, it's either cheese or bread because I'm eating a lot of those things. As a vegetarian, I wasn't like really focused on losing weight or anything like that at that point. So I was eating like a good amount of calories through bread and cheese. And
were you into grilled cheese like Ian? I know Ian just loves those damn things. I didn't do
grilled cheese. I just pastas. I don't even remember. I felt like I was eating so much.
I don't even remember what
I don't even know what it tastes like anymore. So I just I slowly like 1 month I stopped eating lactose, and then my skin was still really struggling and I was still really lethargic, and then I took out the bread, and that's when I felt like happier. I felt like I was sleeping better. My skin got better. A lot of different things happened for me that were positive. So I just keep doing that, and I can feel the difference too now if I slip up and have anything with
is there a panel at a doctor's office that will
you can get your blood tested for it. It's a little bit harder if you're not like celiac disease when you're sensitive, because there's like scopes of sensitivities.
Sure.
But I think if you just listen to your body and then experiment with like taking out certain foods that you're like copiously eating. Like I did. Like I was unreal with the amount like I'm not even joking with how much bread and wheat I was consuming. So
well, I think when left unchecked, I think it is part of one, grains and bread and pasta and all that stuff is relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Like
and as a student,
Yeah.
you know, you're eating that pretty
yeah.
much
So
all the time.
when I was in college, that's when I was eating all of that shit. It's like so simple when you're trying to this dog when you're trying to eat, you know, within your means. You know, obviously right now with the diet I'm on, I'm definitely spending a lot more on food than I could.
Hey,
but it's it's necessary, and I like eating well. It's nice eating well. It's nice eating, you know, avocados on the daily and
yeah.
you know, various nuts. I guess the one that I need to stay away from now is macadamia, just because I'll eat a fucking pound of those things. They're so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grocery shopping after this for sure. Like I'm already coming up with my grocery list:
In
strawberries,
your head, yeah.
macadamia nuts, and honey and oil.
The amount of eggs I consume too. The amount of eggs that I just, oh man, they're just so good for
I
so
love
many
eggs.
things. Just
Eggs are my favorite food.
Yeah, you and Ian have definitely consumed a lot of eggs.
Yeah,
they're great, and you know, there's so much variance you can have with them.
You can make them all different ways.
Yeah, this is a podcast about eggs now. So I know you're also pretty deeply rooted, and I know it's been for the last few years. This dog, I tell you guys, this dog just won't stop. If you're listening to this podcast and
while you're driving
and not watching it, wow, there is just a really rude dog. Okay, thanks, Noodle. Thank you so much.
You need a silent toy.
Yeah, I should have put the toys away. That's my bad. You've been a great help today. But I do know that for the last few years, probably like more like a half decade now or longer, you've been involved with yoga. Like it's been a pretty core part of your life.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you do it like every day.
Yeah.
Every day, either at home or facilitated for work or something else. So I guess as someone who doesn't know much about yoga, I've taken probably 2 classes in my lifetime.
That's okay.
Like one in college, one just, I don't know, like a random reason. What would you say yoga does for the human body?
Whoa.
I know it's a very general question, but I'm just.
Well, when you it shatters your ego. That's what it really does.
It shatters your ego. So like where I would think of, you know, really demanding physical exercise, and I know yoga can be that way, but it's not generally perceived that way.
Well, you know, you don't start off in a level 2-3 yoga class, that's for sure.
Sure.
So when you start, you're learning like the basics, you're learning the alignment, and
I know. This is just shot completely. God damn it. Fucking Noodle. It's fine. It's still funny to hear, but I don't know what I can do about it anymore. Trying to have like a really educated conversation here about the depths of yoga, nutrition, fitness, and
yoga is like so
I hate you, Noodle.
When my first yoga experience was
I got it. This is not fun anymore, Noodle. I really just want you to go. Okay. All right. Let's just try to.
Now she's like playing.
Let's try to proceed.
Okay. So yoga. As a competitive dancer.
Yeah.
Yoga was challenging for me because like I'm the kind of person who wants to like go at it right away.
Sure.
You know, like that's why I say it was like ego shattering, because like I didn't know how to do like a twist and like a warrior 2, and like the teacher comes by and it seems like very simple.
Yeah.
And you just it's like learning a new skill. So and then it's quiet time, so it's not like loud music is playing. It just depends on the yoga class, but usually it's you're in more of a silent space and you're really becoming aware of your body and the postures, and then you have to find stillness within the postures. So as a dancer who was a person who is like constantly moving to music, I found it super challenging. And like being someone who is a competitive dancer, like I was very good at moving. So like learning how to move and like being like, oh, I can't actually do this.
Sure.
That's why I say it's like ego shattering. And then you have to like learn, like you can't push yourself into the postures. Like it comes with time. So like it took me a year to do a handstand. It took me a year to do an arm balance, a basic arm balance. And that was like it's made me like really humble in the experience of like getting to know my body, seeing how practice changes your body, and then at the same time it's like a mental shift where you learn to accept stillness. Like you don't always need to be like super busy in your headspace. So finding that stillness, I think, is hard for most people, and especially as a teacher, now that I see it, it's like I see it in everybody. I can tell like when somebody's like not really present. And that's where the ego is. The ego is like getting you out of your head when you're just doing a hold, like a forward fold, is like, okay, where I have to go grocery shopping after this, I have to go pick up the kids, like I have to and like your head is like, oh, I have to, like, you're looking at yourself and you're like, I can't do this. And then that's also another ego shatter. Like, I can't stand on one leg. I can't look like that person next to me. So you really have to like accept yourself as you are in the present moment. And that's like the beauty of yoga, but it's also the hardest part.
So by stillness, are you so like when I'm in let's say I'm doing push-ups or something, you know, a basic body movement, and I'm holding myself up, you know, the body tends to, when it's like fatigued, we'll start shaking and doing that stuff. So do you mean, so I know in the poses, you're like holding yourself there for a duration of time. Like I'm not exactly sure on what the duration is, but is that what you're referring to with stillness? Like that you're supposed to be, or do you just mean your whole body is supposed to be
you're just
still?
Yeah, you get to a point where you just aren't really moving. Does that make sense? It's not like, okay, like push-ups, like, or planks, you know,
Plank is a better example.
Your core is going to start to shake when your muscles can't hold up the weight anymore.
Right.
That's not really the stillness I'm talking about. It's more like finding a posture and just being able to breathe in it, like for 5 breaths. And
you mean a whole breath? You mean like
in and out, that's 1 breath. So 5 breaths is like what the goal is. And then to get to the full expression of the posture, which is like an Iyengar type of thing. I mean, you could hold a pose for like 3 minutes, and trying to find that stillness in the head space is more important than the body, because the body's going to have some natural physiological shifts where it has to shake, or you might not be able to hold it and then you fall out, or things like that. But that doesn't really happen in yoga. I
know so little about it. It's there's so much to yoga. There's so many different variances. There's so many, you know, I've done plenty of stretching in my own life, like as in wrestling or in other sports. But yoga just seems to bring that to like a whole different level. And it always incorporates the spirit and the mind.
It's like the mindfulness. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think that's the most important part. Like, you know, we go to a yoga class for like an hour a day, and then like, what do we take with us after that? You know, that's the key there. And that's the practice, is like that, taking that with you and sharing it with other people, that peacefulness that you experience, and like taking it home.
Right. Spiritual. Just not getting upset at these animals that are really just getting on my last nerve. You've done quite a few things today, Miss Noodle. So let me just, I'm going to get, both animals are just misbehaving so strongly. It's so different.
They just want to be hurt.
They were so good for 3 hours yesterday. They were so good. And now ruined. I know there are other different variances of yoga. So one of them that I've heard a lot about on the podcast that I listen to is hot yoga. I don't know your familiarity like with it. Have you ever done it? Have you
Oh
done?
yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I have my opinions on hot yoga.
Okay. I mean, I'm curious if nothing else. So I mean, if
Yeah,
are they? You'd say that
but not
not
positive.
they're
No.
not positive.
No.
Okay.
I actually so we kind of touched on ego. When I've done several hot yoga classes. I mean, they're not my favorite, but I did this one, right? And I was, overworking myself.
Yeah.
And then when you're in a hotter state, your muscles are more lax, right? So you can overstretch. And I pulled my hip flexor muscle doing like a simple, like not simple, I shouldn't say that, but like a starfish, like three-legged dog into starfish. And then after the hot yoga class, I was in Seattle. So we went outside and going from hot to cold right away. And then I had to walk like 2 miles to get to back to the hotel after the yoga class.
Jesus.
And immediately after, once my body got back to like normal after the heat, I felt a tear in my hip flexor, and I was injured for like 8 months because
Jesus.
such a big muscle. And usually it's a muscle that never really gets teared. If you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. And it took forever for it to heal. And that's why I'm not an advocator of hot yoga. But at the same time, like I should have known that I was like, not maybe I was showing off a little bit, but I was definitely showing off. So that was my ego. And I got injured from it. And I mean, hot yoga is just I think it's kind of a fad, honestly. When you're taking a yoga class or any exercise, your body heats up.
Yeah.
And that's in where I come from, Yoga Works. We get the body hot, we warm the body up like a normal, exercise professional would.
Right.
You don't need external heat to get even hotter. And people are just gonna keep getting injured. Like rotator cuff injuries are definitely going to be happening more as the muscles are loose, and then you are overextending your body to a thing that can't be achieved in a normal state, and then you pull the muscle.
So it seems to be more of like they're using heat as more of a mental fortitude thing, to see that you can hang in there or keep up with it. It's like it's like doing a wall sit, right? Where you're you're left up to your own devices. You're sitting on a flat surface and you're letting your quads hold you up for as long as you're willing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never really like your legs are going to give out beneath you. I mean, it rarely gets to that point, but the pain or the, strain, it can be so high.
I think like it's kind of like, so Bikram became a thing.
Bikram?
That was like the first hot yoga.
Okay.
And then people became, followers of this Bikram practice. And then they're like, oh, it's the hot thing that people are liking from the Bikram. And then they just started putting it in. A lot of people think that they lose more weight when they go into a hot yoga class. They're not there.
Water weight.
Yeah. It's like, just go to a sauna. A lot of people think that when they practice in a hotter state, like because they're sweating more, they think they're losing more weight.
Yeah, no.
And there's really no studies that, support hot yoga over regular yoga.
Right.
It's like training and running in a hotter state. There's really no benefits.
So it's like in wrestling, to drop weight really quickly, to drop the water weight again, we would wear these full suits of that retain all the heat in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sweating a shit ton. So if it does feel like that, but it's a misconception. It's not like you're losing fat.
Yeah,
as a result.
I mean, if it makes you happy and it gets you to exercise, but most of the people going to the hot yoga classes already have full exercise programs.
You're not going from being like an obese male to like.
So it's like, I don't know. I think like doing it once in a while is fine, but like you can also just go to a sauna. I think hot yoga has a high injury rate. Just being someone who's very well versed in yoga and then getting injured in a hot yoga class. I've never really been injured in yoga before. I'm not an advocate of it. And I can see how it's attractive because like people are sweating, the music is up, and you're like pushing yourself to a new limit.
Right.
But there, I mean, doing it every now and then, sure, like go for it. But it's long term, I don't see a benefit.
So comparatively to normal yoga, you're really just getting the same
Yeah,
thing
and
out
in
of it.
normal yoga, you could probably learn the poses better because you're not dripping sweat all over your body. You
And
can
you're not
hold
worried.
poses. Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow. So as far as heat in general then, or extreme heat or extreme cold, do you know, like, so have you ever been in a like
Cryo.
a cryo or a really hot sauna?
Oh, I mean, I've done sauna stuff. I like saunas. But I just like being warm.
That makes sense.
And then I've heard of cryo. There's a lot of benefits with cryo that are coming out right now with like muscle tone, but everything's short term. It's not like sustainable fitness or in changed muscle
I guess what I've heard
hypertrophy.
is that they talk about a like a specific type of protein that's released, like a shock protein, so something from being in an environment like either really hot or really cold, your body starts to go into like kind of, I won't call it an evolving mode, but it has to learn and adapt at a rapid rate, so it has some kind of way in which to facilitate that.
That's a perfect way of explaining it. I believe and know that the body, it needs to be stressed to change.
Right.
Um and I mean, as we've evolved, we've learned, like we've developed sweat, and we shiver when we get cold.
Right.
These are just things that are naturally in our body. Like we don't need to think about it. It's going to just happen. Um, but in regards to fitness and like, diet,
Yeah.
things like that, you're stressing your body out by, not having any glucose in your system.
Right.
That's a huge stressor. Your body's going to change and adapt to, uh, you know, work with what you've got.
And it did. Yeah.
The same with exercise. You have to overload your body in order to see hypertrophy. You have to decrease your calorie intake to see definition or lose fat. These are all very, like, stressing your body out, I think, helps to make it stronger,
It's a good point.
change, but then also your body adapts to negative stressors like increased caloric consumption, decreased physical activity. And that's the biggest problem right now, is that, our bodies are adapting, but it constantly adapts to whatever you're giving it, positive or negative. So when we have like these cryo tanks, these hot things, I really think that they're just ways for companies to be making money.
Of course.
It's not really giving us any mental change. It forces our bodies to react, and I think of the two, cryo is showing to be better for muscles and
Sure.
things like that, as opposed to what is it? Sauna work, because that's been around forever, and we've been studying sauna work forever. Nothing really has proven to do much for the body except for like increased blood plasma, which helps with VO2, but it's short term, and that can happen at like
Just on a hot day.
just on a hot day running. But the cool thing with cryo work is that one of my friends is actually studying hypertrophy in people with spinal cord injury.
Okay.
They're looking at the effects of, because they've seen with cryo that when you work with cryo, you have increased hypertrophy. So what are the impacts of cryo for a more needing population, like people that, don't have the access to constant, that aren't really working their muscles. So they have like hypotrophy in their muscles. So there's so many things. I think we've done a lot of work on saunas and in research and hot environments, but the new trend in research is trying to figure out the cold, because people are what is it called when it's vocal? It's like myth, like people going into taking an ice bath in the morning in Iceland and
Right.
things like that. Like, but what are the actual effects, like long-term effects? Like, we want to make sure that what we're doing for our bodies, like, yeah, it might feel good and we might like look good for a night, but what can what are the long-term benefits? Because like you don't want to keep freezing your body over and over if it's just short term. There's no point.
That's the problem with diet in general, and that term diet, right? Is
Mhm.
like it's this short-term thing. So like if I was putting it back on myself, at the end of this year of doing a specific diet, like obviously the natural recourse for a lot of the population is to be like, "Oh, I did this. I can go back to eating whatever the
Mhm.
fuck I want."
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. Like
Yeah.
you have to make something sustainable and change your lifestyle and be more balanced or do something differently that works. I'm not opposed to a paleo diet or something else that might be beneficial. I just want to know more about it. And I guess I'm glad, if nothing else, that I took the
Year.
the initiative and the year and this, length of time out of my life to completely turn my knowledge of diet and exercise on its head and
Mhm.
do something different. So I think it's important that people figure out sustainable things rather than these really shocking, quick, jerky kind of
And
actions in their lives.
and it's like we always want this quick fix, but like how long have you been eating poorly for? How long have you been sedentary for?
Yep.
Like you have to pay the price and pick up the tab when you're, you know, there's no such thing as a quick fix. I really don't believe so. Um and like, a lot of people, they have a wedding or some kind of event that they want to get healthy for, but and they crash diet. That's the worst thing you can do for your body. If you're not really learning nutrition, if you're not learning exercise, it is something that is you have to learn. It's not like just going to happen overnight and order a Nutrisystem thing. That like it doesn't work like that. And all these companies are just taking money when it's like something that is not our society is so easy. Like we have phones, we have couches, we have TVs, and it's to make us sedentary, and we have these adapted sedentary lives. We just need to relearn.
Right.
And I mean, if you want to change, if you want to live a healthy, happy life, you have to learn how to do that. It's not like something like that's going to happen overnight. And that's like what people want.
It's really with like the induction of the supermarket kind of complex that we have in this society. I feel like if people were harvesting their food,
Oh yeah.
hunting their food, doing all these other things, they would have a different view of how food actually can be used versus, oh, I can go to Vaughn's down the street and grab a box of pasta, butter and salt
Yeah.
for three or $4 and
Well,
have
and
a
then calorie expenditure at that point when you're talking about growing
yeah.
is so much higher than the person who's working. The average person who works 9 to 5 goes to the grocery store, gets whatever they want, goes a quick meal. It's just not the same.
Yeah, like a sedentary 9 to 5. And it's interesting because I have a sedentary 9 to 5 job where I'm sitting, then I go to school, then I go here,
Mhm.
and I am everything I'm doing. If I do not exercise, I would be 95 to 100% sedentary.
Yeah.
I don't have the luxury of having like a restaurant job or a manual labor job where you're expending calories. But I feel like the people that do those jobs anyway eat enough to make up, if not more, for expending those calories. It's just like what
Yeah.
the body
I
does.
mean, it's just easier to eat out and
So much
have those
easier.
high calorie foods. But also, I really think the keto diet works for the sedentary individual.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I didn't for the first 6 months, really, I didn't do any exercise because
Yeah.
and I feel like if I was gonna be real about it, when I see somebody come to the gym that's obese, like 250, 300 pounds, 350, whatever, and I see them walk through the doors, most of weight loss happens in the kitchen. I feel like
It's
you
like 80.
demotivate the shit out of yourself if you go to the gym too early.
And then you
And
get sore.
yeah,
And
then
then
you
you're
get
like,
sore.
oh my God.
You look at all the other people. You're like, I'm never gonna get there, because it does take months to
Yeah.
adapt out of that. And I think it's good if you can keep up with it, but if you can't, I would fix the diet and
Oh,
and
first.
lifestyle first before you go anywhere near like a barbell or a treadmill.
Yeah. I think that that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it. I just advocate not going on like a program. I think it needs to be, like you said, learned in the kitchen because it's a skill.
Sure.
Like cooking, learning what to buy, learning how to read nutrition labels, and then making it so that it's something enjoyable for you. Like food is so enjoyable. Like
Yeah.
the whole process of it, like even cutting the vegetables, going to the store, it's like it's something that should be enjoyed.
Yeah.
And the more you enjoy it, I think that's when you can have that long-term success. And that's exciting because then you could share it with everyone around you.
That's
You
true.
know?
Everything is so rapid now. Microwaves,
Oh
eat
yeah.
fast food, going, eating out quickly within 5 to 7 minutes. Everything that's quick is most likely bad outside of cutting vegetables and doing something
Mhm.
raw simply like that. But where you have to start cooking and take an hour, I think just cooking on it by
Yeah.
itself is like a great method
And it's
of
so
restricting.
relaxing too. It's like
Yeah.
a way to get out of your, job and like all the stressors and be like, put some love into your food because it's going to fuel you. It's
Yeah.
like, it's a beautiful process. And I really think that we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Even I do. Like, I'm like a protein shaker. Like, I'm like, put some protein in my cup, some coffee, shake it up. I'm good to go. But when I get to make my eggs and avocado toast, like, I'm so happy.
Oh, dude, yeah, and I've sent you pictures and other people of just like my basic, 4 eggs, 4 strips of bacon, which I know
Mm-hmm.
it's not very conscious,
It's
and avocado. It's just like,
it's
oh,
just it's amazing. And it's just sad. Like, I just hope that we can just inspire more people to live like that because it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful life that, food gives us. I love
yeah,
food. I'm a foodie.
yeah. No, I think I think everyone really is, whether they know it or not. Everybody loves fucking food. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't hear anyone that's just like, yeah, I hate it. I don't like any food.
I don't eat.
I just fast until I'm about to die, and then I eat a grape or something.
Yeah, I have one grape.
So speaking of
Fasting.
fasting, actually, so we've both have done some form of intermittent fasting. It's difficult. It is not. It's another shocking your body kind of thing that I find is really helpful and lowers your appetite for other durations. And it's easier on a ketogenic diet, or at least that's what I've heard, that the production of ketones and utilization of them kind of leaves you feeling, and you eating fats in general is obviously going to leave you more satiated, as we've said.
Yeah.
But not I found that it's more difficult to withhold on food nowadays. Like, I've not been good at intermittent fasting like recently since I've lost the weight. Maybe because my body doesn't have as much to like work with anymore. As far as it might just be a discipline thing, though. Honestly, there's so much of it that's just a discipline thing. That's like a day to day. I'll get back to it tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I think I am a proponent of intermittent fasting. I think it works. I think your body works better in a fasted state. I don't think we're evolved or to be eating and snacking all the time. Like, our ancestors didn't do that.
Yeah, they weren't just like maybe berries and and various things,
Maybe.
but like just barely.
But I think your body has to get through the food that you give it, and then don't overload your body with food. I mean, just like we talked about overloading with anything, your body adapts, and then it has a harder time to process the food and take out the nutrients. And it usually, I mean, I'm not a dietitian by
Sure.
any means. Like,
Okay.
let me also say that too.
Disclaimer.
How long into this podcast? But yeah, I've seen it. Like, I've felt it. I really enjoy the effects of intermittent fasting. I feel sluggish when I am eating a lot during the day, like not fasting. And intermittent fasting is something that we did before it got popular. Like, having 3 meals a day is a form of intermittent fasting. When we started adding these like snacks and things,
Yeah.
that is and then like also people were proponents of like snacking throughout the day to keep your metabolism high. Like,
Oh,
that's
lots
not
of little
really true.
meals. Yeah, I don't think that's great.
Yeah, that doesn't really work. But I mean, if you think about like when society, at least American culture, was the healthiest, but I mean, they did the 50s was when CBD started, but that was also with fast food. Anyway, before that we had, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
That was it. That is intermittent fasting.
Yeah, several hours in between meals. Yeah.
And like, I think we with diets and all the fitness people, we like to go to the extreme and be like, we can only eat for 4 to 6 hours in the day.
That's where I was at.
And it's just an extreme thing. Like, I don't think we need to be eating all day. I think 3 meals a day is good, and if you need to snack, like, take a snack. Like, but I feel like I just naturally intermittent fast on the weekends. Just because of like my teaching schedule and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't like to eat before I teach a yoga class. So I definitely intermittent fast like 2 days a week. And like, don't do that. I don't eat after what, 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. and then,
Oh, really? You're like, you stop in the middle of the day.
yeah, and then I eat at night because it's the best time to eat.
Oh, you do the late night. Okay, that's
Yeah.
I lose all form of consciousness about food at night, I swear. And that's why when I was doing intermittent fasting, I wouldn't eat all day. Like, I only ate from when I would get home at like 7 and end around like 10 or 11. So I guess like more like a 4-hour period.
Yeah.
And then not again until that time.
That's hard. And the thing is, like, I'm personally, like, when I have that restrictive behavior, I don't do well with it. Like,
I get cranky.
Well, I also like have a problem. Like, I'm like, okay, so I'm not gonna eat after 4. Okay, let's say that. I'm not gonna eat after 4. I'm intermittent fasting because that's what everyone's doing right now, and everyone's really losing weight on it, and I want to do that too.
Yeah.
And then I'll eat as much as I can until 4.
That's what I do.
And then I'm feeling like crap the rest of the day.
That's
like,
true.
I don't know. So like, I think just working with what you have. Like, I noticed that this was a recent realization. So that happened at work the other day.
I just love big meals. There's
too.
something about it that
and that's a great part of the intermittent fasting. But I think people like me, when you get like, you're not really trying to lose weight as
Right.
much as you have other goals, you can just overdo it.
Sure.
You're like, I just can eat until 4, and then you have a weird mindset around the food you're eating. You're like, I can eat candy because or peanut or whatever you want to eat until 4, and then you cut it off, and then you get hungry a couple hours later because that's just what your body does.
Honestly, the consciousness of just looking at nutrition labels. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. I can talk to the podcast. Everybody that comes on this podcast has like the most active bladder in the fucking history of the planet. I swear to God. No, it's a good thing. I think it means that you're healthy, honestly, because you're drinking enough water. I'm the absolute worst about drinking water. I can't do it. I can't do it for the life of me. Even at work, I like have the access to it. I have no excuses whatsoever, and then it's just I never end up doing it. It's so dumb. I really need to get better about drinking water. And here I am, drinking coffee again. Just again drying myself out even more. You're supposed to drink like more water after you drink coffee. Nope, not me. I'm fucking stupid. But I think all that we're getting to really is how important discipline is in your life, and I've known that for a long time. My dad was an ultra disciplined individual after his time in the military, and I just know that 99% of people's problems are about discipline, putting something off, to one day, 2 days, 3 days, keep going. And I think if people were more disciplined and didn't feed into the chemical reactions in their brain that release specific hormones, that release a signal to your body that tells you you're hungry or that you shouldn't exercise, if you can put that away, if you can take that, just throw it out of your mind and just do it, that stupid Nike logo. Yeah, just do it. I think you'd be better off no matter who you are, because as soon as you let your brain tell you something, as soon as you let your brain say, "Oh, it's raining, don't run," like I did today, you're already worse off. I feel like you're getting yourself into like a negative feedback loop by doing that. You're more naturally prone to the next day to do the same thing. So if you can get yourself in positive routines, then you'll be better off.
Yeah.
So I did want to get into some of the studies that you're going into. We had some conversations prior to you moving about some of them. And the one that I find the most interest in, just because I'm a technology buff, I enjoy technology in all its facets. Virtual reality, VR, is one of them. And I know you had a study you were going into. I'm not sure the progression of that one.
Yeah, it's a really cool study. We look at how movement patterns that are learned in a VR space transferred to real world, which is really applicable because a lot of systems and what word am I looking for? Educational type of opportunities
or re-education
methods
sure.
are using VR. Like surgeons, doctor programs are using VR as a way to like learn how to cut people open.
Right.
VR is also being used to train NASCAR drivers. I'm not project lead on this project, but I do. It's in my lab, so I am familiar with the project. And then so VR, it's like a new way of learning things. It's also cost effective for companies to teach people.
No cadavers.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really useful because you submerge yourself in this environment that is real. It's 3D-ish, and you can learn things. Okay, so the question our team is researching is to see if these movement patterns that are learned can be transferred to real world. With what we've seen so far, obviously learning in a real space is better than in VR. We found that accuracy actually improves in VR training with our tentative. We still are collecting, I think, on 15 more people, but our subjects are almost through.
Oh, wow.
And then so the accuracy is proving that so when people get out of VR, I don't know if your followers do VR, but there's an adjustment period with the eyes.
Yeah. Oh, and I know that from firsthand experience with the Vive, and I know you guys are working with the Vive.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, we work with the Vive. So there's this adjustment period, and people do really bad at darts after they've learned it in VR. Because of the adjustment period. It's like the darts are all over those space after.
Right, because they're not trying. Right now, the Vive is not trying to. It's trying to look realistic. It's not trying to physically be realistic.
And then, but after their adjustment period, once their eyes are adjusted, they're actually accurate. They have increased accuracy scores, like hitting the bullseye. But the big but that we're seeing in a trend is that the actual movement pattern is learned differently, which is really interesting because for fine motor skills, it's not something that should be learned.
Not positive then. So not.
Yeah.
Not
so
great.
It's like if you're learning how to maybe do golf.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that's good. If you're learning how to do something more finely tuned, like surgery, maybe it's not so good. But these findings are still not statistically found to be relevant yet. So I'll have to get back to you on that.
Was this about wasn't there an aspect of this about like relearning movement or something like that?
No, it's you learn how to play darts in VR.
Okay.
And then we compare it against people who learn how to play darts in real world.
So the control group is people that, so everyone has not played darts ever.
They're novices.
Okay, they're at various novice
Yeah.
trained. So okay, so no one that's intermediate or plays on the regular.
Yeah,
but they're
and then they also have good eye health too.
okay. So they have to have 20/20.
No, they just don't. I mean, yeah, I guess none of them have glasses or they wear contacts, but good eye health
Okay.
in general.
So
Yeah.
and I know another of these studies that you were really passionate about on this one was it was in regards to veterans. I don't necessarily recall like what.
Oh, you mean the firefighter study?
No, I thought you had a study that was more in regards to like re-education of veterans with dismemberments of one kind or another where they were.
Oh. So yeah, I was gonna initially, well, I'm probably still gonna do that when I go into my PhD, but
Okay.
I was gonna look at the effects of VR training as a or even AR as a way to do mirror therapy for people with amputation.
So learning to
veterans.
utilize like a robotic limb or some
Yeah.
other kind of variant. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like that I didn't get to do now, but that is something I'm very interested in looking at in my PhD.
Okay.
Is seeing how technology can help the amputee, because right now there's mirror therapy, which really helps them like relearn how to move
Right.
and also help with pain. But it's not very real world. I mean, you use a mirror, which is actually super accessible to like low income people, but I just want to see how technology can improve what the current standard is.
I think that's like an amazing route to go down because there's so many veterans that in the Iraq War and Afghanistan and everything else lost limbs from car bombs and IEDs.
Yeah, and my
everything.
actual like thesis is on like how exercise can help amputees, but that is my primary group of interest is amputees and people with prosthetics. So that's something I'm super passionate about.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
As far as you are finishing up your master's program and going off to the next level,
Leveling up.
leveling up to a doctorate, going for your
Mhm.
PhD. So you have to have a thesis to finish up your master's, and then are you going to need to have another thesis to finish up a doctoral program?
Yeah, so in the PhD program it's called a dissertation.
Dissertation, okay.
Where it's more thorough in what I'd be looking at. And that's why I would probably be creating games and stuff.
Right.
I don't have the time to do that in my master's work, but in my current thesis, I'm looking at the effects, like compensation patterns that amputees exhibit during static yoga postures, which is something that hasn't been studied yet. So it's making my life a little harder than I initially intended, but I think it's something super important because amputees, especially lower limb amputees, have a hard time walking for extended periods of time. So they are a population that is subject to sedentary life just due to lack of mobility.
So it's something brand new that there's not much previous research that you can go back on. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Oh,
nothing
wow.
on like amputees and yoga. And also nothing on amputees and static exercises. Even Pilates, I couldn't even find anything on amputees and Pilates. So if anyone knows of any studies, you want to do a search for me.
Yeah, drop a comment, get that business email out there.
Because I have been searching and searching, and I have yet There's a lot of things on walking and ambulation, but
So you're referring to like scholarly articles that are,
yeah,
on databases or on the
yeah.
web somewhere. Okay.
So it's a tough subject, but I think it's really important. And if we can find out if there's less compensation in the amputee group during yoga, maybe we can recommend yoga as a form of exercise for these people.
Sure. I think I had no idea that a thesis in a master's or a doctoral program actually meant that you were contributing to scholarly literature
That's the goal. Some people
in the
don't.
world. Like,
Yeah.
your thesis is going to be this, you know, potentially groundbreaking thing that starts, a chain reaction or is just on the internet and global database forever
Well, yeah,
after
that's why
that.
I can't I mean, I'm excited about it because it gives me a large like there's hundreds of yoga poses to study.
Right.
And then also, we don't know the long-term effects on yoga and amputee persons. We know that with veterans who have done restorative yoga, it's helped with their PTSD.
Sure.
There's so many like things that we can look at that hasn't been researched before. But the goal is like just to lay down some foundational work just to see if the static exercise compensates like they do during walking.
So, and by static, like you mean static versus something dynamic, like
Hmm. Yeah, dynamic
moving.
is just moving. Static is holding.
So, what would be an example of a dynamic yoga movement?
Well, that's not really yoga. So, I mean,
Okay.
a dynamic yoga movement would just be connecting two poses together and moving back
So
and forth.
the transition is the dynamic part
Yeah.
of that. So static
Bending
is
and straightening the leg is dynamic.
okay. So static, when you're referring to like starfish pose or downward dog or
Yeah.
whatever, any of that stuff is a static movement.
Yeah, and I'm putting that in my title so that more people can see it and that aren't really familiar with yoga and say, "Oh, this is static exercise."
Wow.
Mhm.
And what is the thesis that you've been working on for your master's?
So my side project, like the VR study, I look at fatigue and the effects of fatigue on crossing behavior and eye movements.
Oh, right. And does this relate to the test that I might be a part of?
You will be a part of
Yes,
it.
sorry. Yes, I'm going to be
Yes, it's called
100%.
we call it the firefighter study because we're hoping to expand our work to apply it to firefighters. I can't give you too much information about it because you're going to be a subject.
Oh, okay, understood. Yeah. You should
But
get Aiden involved too. Aiden's actually like trying to be a firefighter.
oh yeah,
Yeah. And he's like really close to that and he's like been exercising a shit ton, so
yeah, we
should
should.
hit him up.
I'll hit him up. I'm desperate
How
for
many more do you
something.
need?
Well, probably like 13.
13 people and then also and getting all your people in a room and individuals. Do you have so do those 5 people that are involved with watching and
Data
being involved
collection.
in the test, yeah, and the data collection, do they need to all be looking at one individual at a time?
Yeah.
Wow, that is an investment right
It's
there.
a huge project. There's 3 variables we're looking at. It's very intense. It's messy data too, which is really hard to work with. So, but
Just because
I'm
everybody's different?
well, yeah, and because there's so many moving parts in the study, because we're looking at fatigue and non-fatigue, and then crossing behavior and just everything. It's a lot of little parts together, and I'm really lucky that I get to be in charge of it because now I see like if I can do this study, I can definitely do my static yoga
Oh, okay, so
study.
this one's gonna be potentially more difficult, at least
Data
in the
collection.
data collection
Yeah,
phase.
but it's really cool. I've presented, it's a very interesting subject, so I got to present on it at CSUN, and then I'm going to Canada to present about it.
That's so cool. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
so I'm going to the International Society of Biomechanics and presenting on crossing behavior and fatigue states, and I really like it too. I mean, it's just such a amazing opportunity that I get to be a part of. It's just hard finding people that actually fit our requirements.
Criteria.
Yeah.
How did you feel doing the public speaking in regards to your own into your basically your thesis, in
Oh,
which did you have like a long script that you
oh no.
that you went
It's
over?
called PowerPoints. We use a lot of PowerPoints in the
Oh,
educational field.
I
The
thought TED
first
Talk.
one, well, the TED Talk, that was an interesting one. I my problem with public speaking is that like when I first start, like my first 3 sentences are all terrible.
Yeah,
And
like
then it
this
gets better.
podcast for all of us.
It's like boom, poo. And
Yep.
then so I mean, I'm learning how to do it. That's why I'm in school, is so that I can learn how to be a professional in this academic field. Um, it's not easy, but I think it's helped me become a better public speaker, and at least I'm not speaking about my feelings. So it's much better than that.
Well, right. Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm terrible at public speaking.
Yeah,
I'm
and
as
it's so
far
funny
as soon
because
as
now I've done like I've taught hundreds of yoga classes. Now I can teach yoga in my sleep. But when you just, it's like learning anything new. It's hard, you know.
I always feel like, so when I don't have an instrument or a microphone meant for singing in front of me, I just feel completely naked up there. I'm just like, I don't know what to.
Yeah.
I've always been able to hide behind my instrument, and then
Yeah, well,
there's something about talking.
yeah, there's something about doing it a million times too. Like I've done more presentations this semester than ever before, and now I'm like feel like a pro. Like I can just I feel much more confident in it.
That's solid.
Because really, I'm the only one that knows the study, as well as my advisor, and the rest of the people don't know it.
That's such a cool place to be in, where you're legitimately a master of what you're talking about. Like
I'm a master.
you know everything around it. You know all of the facts and supporting data, and
Yeah.
not many people outside of an educated field like that really know what it's like. We all, we all summarize things. We all look at internet-based data and stuff and kind of believe what we read.
Yeah, and like we watch these YouTube videos, and like for me, I don't know all the pathways of like how diet affects me, but for me it's trial and error. And I know certain things about exercise, a lot of things about exercise and how to work in an optimal state, but I'm a learner in this lifetime. I think my path in life is to learn and educate and help people. So I'm always open to like learning as much as I can about any topic and trying to disseminate the information in an appropriate manner.
I wish I was better about education. It's always been such a, I don't know, crux or whatever would be the term in my own life. That just, and wow, she is still.
Well, you're in school.
Yeah, no, I'm in school, but I never treat it well. And obviously, I'm doing like all online.
We have lives outside of school.
Yeah, I wish I had focused more in the 18 to 22.
Yeah, me too. And I really took it for granted. If I had known what I know now, I would definitely change things, but that's not the way my life panned out. So
it's not the way human life pans out. We are made up of our experiences and everything. So if you did not have the negative side of things, you wouldn't be you. You wouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's so true too. Like I found exercise as like a super, like in the weirdest way ever, and who knew I'd be studying it probably for the rest of my life.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm hoping to translate my education. I'm obviously doing this music business degree, but after that I would definitely like to do something that I'm passionate about, which right now is like nutrition and worrying about
and
nutrition.
Then we could start a business.
Exactly. No, I mean I'm serious about it, and I'm serious about helping other people kind of figure it out as well. I don't know the route yet, but I'm still in my mid-20s.
There's so many people doing it too, like companies like On It, Four Sigmatic. There's so many good nutrition and wellness companies, and also YouTubers. Like I am so grateful for YouTube because I've learned so much about so many different things, and same as podcasts too. Like I just eventually one day I'd like to be one of those influencers. Well, that gets to like help all those people.
in like the health and
Mm-hmm.
wellness kind of
Yeah.
field. Yeah, and I think when you're genuine about it, it reads across very well comparatively to, you know, being just doing it for being famous or
Oh
something
yeah.
else. But when you actually care about people, which now I can hear from like your this whole Tumblr time period, which I was unaware of.
It was a phase.
Yeah. You got to see kind of how you would treat that situation, and you seem like the right person for it. You seem like that you'd actually care about your subscribers and
Oh.
how they react, and you'd read comments and do everything. So I think that's a good route for you.
Yeah, one day
It
when
just
I have more time.
just takes doing it. It just takes
Just like we
repetition.
said, just do it.
Just do it.
Just
Nike,
do
this is
it.
not a
I
paid.
mean, Nike is so smart for coming up with that.
Yeah, so simple. So simple yet so effective, and it really just rings true for all fitness and exercise based anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when you were living here as well that we both kind of utilized specific vitamins and supplements to help out our day to day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been one that thinks that vitamins can, you don't feel it, right? It's not something that you necessarily are going to feel in your life, or at least I have not. I take vitamin D. I take a multivitamin. Everybody just says that it in the end it just means you have more expensive.
You can feel the creatine.
I took creatine in high school during my wrestling phase, and that was about it. Oh, you do it? You do it regularly?
Not regularly, but when I take a bang, I'm like, boom, I'm on it.
So do you utilize it more as like the pre-workout?
I can feel a good pre-workout. I also can feel, the only two supplements I can feel are like the creatine and then beetroot. I have an immediate effect when you take beetroot because it helps with running and endurance.
So is that in a supplement, or is that like, do you legitimately eat a beetroot?
No, it's like you get beetroot powder and you put it in a drink. Yeah.
So what do you feel from that then? I've never utilized it.
Oh, it's so good. It's really good for running.
Really?
It gives you energy. It makes your like chest feel more clear. It just helps with actual O2 absorption, and it's been studied. So I can be a proponent of beetroot extract to help with your any kind of exercise endeavor, especially if it has to do with cardio.
Wow. I wonder, because I felt like my ketogenic diet really helped with running, because I no longer had to fear the lactic acid buildup in the same way, at least for myself.
Or maybe you just got used to the exercise, so then you weren't having a lactic acid accumulation.
Maybe, because the lactic acid buildup, like the runner's stitch, like it usually comes around the wall that you kind of hit, right? That's part of that.
It's like it's around 50% of your VO2 max. So you start switching from, it's called like a crossover effect, where you switch from carbohydrate to
fat.
To
burning fat.
And then so that's the crossover effect. And then usually when you're in that crossover effect, your body gets a little bit tired, and that's when you usually want to stop running.
Gotta push through.
Yeah, so if you push through it, then you get into that the crossover, where you start burning the fat and the glucose at the same time. And then lactic acid buildup is actually just not having enough oxygen in your body to sustain the exercise. So then you build lactic acid. I feel like I'm in exercise fizz. So then that's lactic buildup. Basically, it only happens when you don't have enough oxygen to get to the tissues that are working. That's it. You can help your body avoid lactic acid by taking supplements or increasing your VO2, which is probably what was happening for you, because VO2 increases with training.
Okay, so the more you do it,
also with
the higher
decreased body mass too.
Oh.
So the less you weigh, the less oxygen your tissues need.
So is there a point where like a marathon runner no longer experiences it or just doesn't experience it in the same way?
I mean, your body's gonna fatigue out. I mean, once you get to
Regardless.
your limit,
Yeah.
and if you can't take in enough oxygen to fuel the cells, it's gonna happen. So, I mean, it just depends on how you're trained. If you're trained to do that kind of activity,
Mhm.
and then supplementation can help with it too.
Ah.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to look into this beetroot and other
It's life
supplements.
changing.
Really?
Yeah, a
Wow.
lot of runners use it. It's a
Damn.
good one.
And the
It's a
last
quick VO2
so it's
increaser.
yeah, I was not really aware of.
I don't know. I should probably explain what VO2 is. I've said it
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
million
yeah.
times.
That's exactly what I
It's
wanted.
just it's how your body's ability to send oxygen and reabsorb it, and then
So through the blood.
yeah, it's a blood thing.
So are we talking about like speed? Are we talking
Speed,
about?
yeah, it's milliliters of oxygen.
Yeah.
Per kilogram, so weight's important in that factor per minute. It is
Getting to the muscles.
Mm-hmm. It's cells. Yeah, it goes down deeper.
Oh, it's more
into
about
that.
like cell respiration?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Deep bio 3 shit right here, guys. That's what I
And then like people start tuning out now.
Yeah, they're like, I didn't want a lesson here, guys. I just wanted y'all to talk.
Yeah.
The last subject I wanted to kind of touch on, and it's something that I've recently in this last month have tried to pay like heavy attention to, and it's like the amount of sleep that I'm getting. I've been sleeping 8 hours a night, like every night now,
Oh wow.
and I think it's like I don't get to do what I necessarily want to during the day, so I'm a little shaky or wavering on that fact that, you know, I'm probably going to sleep 3 to 4 hours less than I used to, so I don't feel like I get what I need to done during the week, like after work kind of stuff. Because now after the gym, I'm home for 3 hours before I need to get to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, then I have to spend time making dinner, doing whatever else, showering, and then I have like an hour and a half to myself. So I sometimes dislike it, but so far I've seen a pretty positive net change. I've also stopped like drinking and smoking weed before going to bed, like so like 2 or 3 hours before I stop, and then I get to actually feel my REM sleep.
Mm.
So I'm not sure. Like, do you try to pay attention to your sleep?
Yeah, I think sleep is probably one of the most important things, and I don't get enough of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we function well at like 5 to 8 hours of sleep, and then you can also get too much sleep, which isn't good for you either. Ugh, everything's just such an equilibrium. But sleep like carries over so many benefits, and we really take it for granted, especially in my kind of academic field. Like, you know, I'm in the kinesiology department too, so that doesn't help because we're all super competitive. But we're like, well, I woke up at 6 today. You slept till 7. Like you're so not as good as me. I don't know. So the thing is though, like now I'm not like that anymore. I'm like, I try to sleep a good 5 hours a night
Wow.
at least. It's a little bit more difficult during finals week, which is
Sure.
what I just got out of. But
Yeah, you're done for the year at CSUN.
yeah, I'm on my summer break. I'm thinking about taking a class maybe, but
Don't burn out. That's all.
I know it's so I'm seeing it in my future. I don't want that. But yeah, I think it's super important. It's good for your metabolism. It helps you with cell recovery.
Yeah, recovery.
And then it's like a good mood booster. Like we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but if you're not functioning at your best and let's say you only had 4 hours of sleep, you're going to still lose those 3 hours that you spent sleeping, being in mental fog or being in a bad mood or, not working at an optimal level. And I think working less hard and more efficiently, that's what I'm trying to say. Working efficiently is better.
Yeah.
And like you might have more hours that following day, once you get used to the pattern, to do those things that you love to do.
Yeah.
And it's about working smarter, not harder.
Yep.
You know, and then sleep can help you with that.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much the exact thought I had on it. The last thing I can't fucking do for the life of me is be disciplined enough to get up at like earlier than I need to.
Oh, I get that too.
It's always about need. I don't know why. I don't know why I've had that disconnect. I know you and Ian have had that, because I remember the days of the carpool, like of getting to your house, like honking my mom honked the horn at you guys, and you guys would come out like 5 minutes later, bare like wavering, just enough to get to the car to go back to sleep.
Well, I think it's an age thing.
Sure.
I think as we age, it's actually harder to sleep.
To get to sleep or to sleep in?
To sleep in. We don't have as much cell recovery in our 30s after we turn 30. So we don't really need sleep as much. So when we get disturbed by sleep, it's easier for us to get up. I think when you're still in your 20s, you're still, growing mentally, physically. Things are changing in your body, and you're processing a lot of information. Like as a 20-year-old, I'm in school. I'm processing and synthesizing more information now than I ever have before. And it takes time for your body to regenerate and keep that information. And it all happens during sleep.
There's so much.
So that's why we are sleepy in the morning, because our bodies are still wanting and craving that sleep, especially when I'm only getting like 5 to 6 hours.
Right.
My body wants the 8. And I beat myself up, but it's like, why am I going to bed at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Because I'm working, and it's.
I know it's not like you're goofing off. Like for me, I'd be staying up later doing something that's not really beneficial.
I mean, I could be on YouTube though.
You're right. You get in a click hole of
tarot card readers.
Yep. Oh, tarot card.
That's my new thing.
Tarot card?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to pronounce that shit.
doing?
Yeah, I don't. She likes the salt. I don't get it, man.
So
She's
gross.
so weird.
Anyway.
Such a weird doggo. But yeah, we got to really everything I wanted to get to.
We talked about a lot of stuff.
I know. We covered a lot of ground in this short time period, and Noodle has just been here making life hell for us for the last few.
Yeah, it's time for another cup of coffee.
Yeah, need some more coffee. Nicole, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And when I say that, I know I say that to, like, everyone, but I truly mean that. Like, we have 24 hours in this day, and you have taken an hour or so out of your own day, with which you could be doing other things, to come out here and talk to us and talk to the to our fine viewers out there.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
I am a big supporter of all that you're doing, and I'm so excited for you and all that's to come for you.
Yeah, and I want to talk more as you get deeper into this, into your thesis and your various data collection. Obviously, I'll see you in a week or a few weeks.
Yeah, please
for the test. Yeah, this is video proof and audio proof that I will 100% be there.
Yeah, I need it so bad. So
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it, and I love talking about this kind of stuff. So
Roger that. And with that, everyone, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for listening. It'll be out on Wednesday of this coming week. So if you're listening to it, it is now Wednesday. Don't forget to follow on every various social media. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the video. If you're on there, there will be an audio version as well on the Dirty Laundry Podcast YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully this coming weekend, for a live stream. Thank you so much, guys. I'm out.